Welcome to the Disability Podcast, the podcast where we talk about everything disability, from tips and tricks to gaining the most of your independence and therefore your freedom. Let's not waste any time and dive right into the Disability Podcast. Welcome to the first proper episode of Season 2 of the Disability Podcast. And in this episode, we are talking travel and everything to do with travel, but especially the period of time from planning the trip and getting everything ready to arriving at the airport and getting on the plane, because that's the most stressful part, especially if you have a physical disability like me and have to think of many situations and, dilemmas and navigate them quite easily. I've made my own foolproof plan, which I now do most of the time, and it makes me a lot less stressed, I can tell you that. But it all starts with booking the ticket, and I've made this very important. If I'm traveling alone especially, I always pack light and I always get the hold luggage. No matter how heavy, light my carry-on is or the bag I'm packing is, I'm always getting a hold luggage. And yes, you can say, well, what if they lose the luggage? And that's just part of life. But the stress that it relieves yourself of not having to worry about one bag, especially when you only have one hand usable like me throughout the whole airport, is immense, I can tell you that. So normally I always book one bag at least, and I try and keep it light, and I always put it in the hold. Because if we think now, in a perfect scenario, I would always take a taxi to the airport, because then from the door, you just put everything in the taxi and off you go. But, traffic, strikes, everything, you can't plan really empty roads, especially if it's rush hour. So trains, honestly, are the most efficient, and it's the balanced point, because you get on the train, and because I'm packing light, I only have small bag and my carry-on or my rucksack. Always have a good rucksack, trust me. Rucksacks save a lot of effort. But getting on the train, I'd say taking a seat, and then what I do is I manage to put my luggage wherever I'm sitting. I always try and get a seat, because it makes everything easier. But wherever I'm sitting, I always try and put my luggage between my legs. I know it sounds quite funny, but you put the luggage between your legs, and then rucksack on top, and then you can just chill all the way to the airport. Now I do also plan, because normally there's many ways of getting to the airport via trains. I'm always going the most simple route. So it could be slightly longer, but when I'm traveling, I'm not really thinking about time. I'm always going to give myself enough time to get from my house to the airport. But for example, if I have to make a change, I'm going to make a change where the two trains are literally just across the platform, because it's easy. Just get up, walk across the platform. No stairs, no escalators, no long walks that you have to do. Just get up, cross, wait, get back on the train, and off we go again. So that's also another key point, just making it as easy as possible. So then you go, that bit of the journey is done. You're on the travel, you're traveling, you're at the airport now, and then you have do you take the lift up, or do you take the escalator up to departures? I'm a little bit strange, and I buck from the trend here. I'm always going to take the escalator, just because the lifts, they can get busy, and escalators, yes, they're one way and they're up a few steps, but the big but is because I only have one luggage, and because I only have one rucksack, luggage in the right hand, rucksack obviously on my back, can hold everything easily, and up you go. And honestly, it's much easier than taking the lift and getting squished into the corner, especially if I'm not claustrophobic, but I can imagine people who are claustrophobic would be even worse for them. So that's what I do. And then on top of that, when you're checking in, now I like to be as independent as possible. So if I'm flying economy, which most of the time I do, I use the machines because they're easy. And the only trick is the baggage slips. And those can be, it depends which airport actually, because some are easy and they just, put them in, flip it around, and they stick without any problems. Some I've found that you have to take stuff off. It's the ones that you have to take the backing off, which have sometimes led to, shall we say, not perfect sticking, which, I've got some strange looks, but it is what it is. The luggage arrived on the other end fine, so I'm not entirely bothered. But yeah, you just have to think, sometimes everything's not going to go perfectly, but it doesn't matter. As long as it's secure enough, that's what my mind says. As long as it's secure enough, it should be fine. And then you put it on the thing and off you go. I mean, yes, it depends airport to airport. Some people do it for some airports, they do it for you. Some are even more, some are even more leaning towards the do-it-yourself. And obviously people, person to person, likes different things. So whatever you like, I would say lend that way. But like I say, I'm basing this off my experience and my experience only. So that's that. But what I shall say is, now you're in the airport and I've put even though I only have a small luggage, I'm now just in the airport with my rucksack. And this is very important because now the next stage is security. Now, if you have to go through security with one arm, well, one working arm, I shouldn't say one arm, it's just how my mind sometimes clocks in, but one working arm, and you have to take laptops and you have to take all of the other stuff, toiletries, all of this stuff, it can get stressful. I know, for example, Heathrow, you can now just put your bag in, walk, and then everything's fine. So that's nice. But most airports, it's still laptop out, electrics out, and then what I do is, if a laptop has to be, only the laptops have to be taken out. And this is what I realized, thankfully for my brother. You can put watch, passport, phone, maybe not belt, but most of the things you can just put in your rucksack. So most rucksacks have a side pocket, front pocket, whatever type pocket. Just shove them in there, put it on the rollers, and you're fine. Just try and make it as seamless as possible. Now, the one thing that's always going to happen now, and I can tell you most of the time it does happen, not most of the time actually, all the time, is if you wear an AFO, splint, walking aid, whatever you have, if you have anything, I try every time to not take my shoes off because it's just long. It just takes time. But every time I have to take off my shoes, or at least the shoe with my splint on, because it always ends up beeping the machine, especially the new ones. And then, yeah. But on the other hand, they give you a seat to wait. So negative and a positive. But at the end of the day, at least you only have thinking about one bag. Like I said, the other bag is on the way to the hold, so no problems there. And then the world is your oyster, really. You can go wherever you want in the airport and do whatever you like. Because this part, there's not really much disability-esque stuff. It's just, my only tip would be, and I think this is just for general life anyway, is for me or for people with limited mobility, especially with their arms, cash is not king. Cards are king, especially Apple Pay, Google Pay, whatever pay you use, because yeah, 2 taps and you're just paying and you can find a seat. No dealing with cash, no finding a pocket to put cash, none of that stuff, just beep and it's done. I love that invention, honestly, I love it. Just makes everything easier, especially whilst traveling. And yes, when I do travel, still don't use cash at all. Nowadays, even when I'm abroad and it's more of a cash country, I still, majority of the time, use card because it's just easier. And it's just, in order to enjoy your holidays as much as possible, enjoy traveling as much as possible, you have to make your life as easy as possible. So, I mean, the next stage obviously is when you're boarding, but I was thinking about this the other day and I just queue up like normal. I know you can queue up early, so that really depends on you. I mean, if I can stand quite easily, so I don't see the need to board early. And honestly, I think because I'm sitting for at least, an hour, hour and a half minimum, 2 hours, 3 hours if you're going South Europe, then I want to stand as much as possible before, because there's no getting up in the flight, because it's just causes problems. I know that from experience. But like I say, at least you don't have luggage, you don't have to worry about overhead lockers and trying to put luggage in overhead lockers without any help. That is the biggest problem I've had in the past, and that's why I've always now put luggage in a hold, because putting luggage in and getting luggage out of the overhead lockers is a stressful time, and I just don't want to have to bother with it. When I'm traveling, or when you're traveling, you want everything to be nice and relaxed and not have to stress. So this is basically what I do to make my life as stress-free as possible. And also, people may disagree with me on this, but I'm always booking the aisle seat, not the window seat. Yes, people prefer the window seat because you can look out of the window and it's very nice. I agree with you there, but just from a stress and easy point of view, aisle seat, because you can get up at any time if you need to use the facilities. You can easily get up if you need to let someone out. So the middle seat is the worst seat, but I think everyone agrees with that. And then, you have time to get yourself ready on the other end more easily than if you're stuck in the window seat, and you can get off the plane quicker, easier, and everything else. So it's just my favorite seat. People may disagree with me, but that's them. I mean, let me know your thoughts, and if you disagree with me, great. I would like to hear why, but that's just me. And then, on the other end, the problem is on the other end, when you've landed at your destination, it becomes a complete black hole of, you can't really plan. You can plan for most things, but every airport is different, especially when you're traveling somewhere new. You have no way of really knowing what to expect. So you plan for the basics. Passport control is passport control, doesn't really need, just make sure you have your passport in hand. But everyone has to have their passport in hand, so it doesn't really matter. So yeah, I mean, that's what I do when I'm traveling, is when I can summarize it quite easily. Minimize the stress as much as possible by taking more precautions than necessary. So if you have your luggage, for example, that's the main thing that I'm talking about right now. Have your luggage in the hold. You don't have to worry about toiletries. You don't have to worry about lugging it around for the whole airport. You don't have to worry about any of that. You can just relax as much as possible. And yes, you may need to come to the airport an hour early to plan for travel, like trains, taxis, whichever way you want to travel. Yes, the best one is to get friends or family to drop you off, but we know that doesn't normally end up happening. So yeah, if I summed up what to do when you're traveling, especially the traveling part, is always not pack light because you want to pack light, but pack light so you can be more maneuverable and stress-free. But like I said, this is for someone like me with hemiplegia, and I'm sure it applies to other people as well and other disabilities. But that's just my experience and what I've done to minimize my stress when I'm traveling abroad. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. And yeah, if you have any comments, questions, or you want any more information about what I do when I'm traveling to reduce stress or to make things easier, let me know. Send us a DM, send us a message, however you like. And yeah, I will see you again next week, next Monday, to talk about more things.
Thank you for listening to the Disability Podcast. I hope you found it entertaining and useful, and are looking forward to the next episode coming next Monday. Looking forward to seeing you there.